Hey, welcome to Next Week in Nova. I'm Alex. I'm here to tell you about some records that I really like, some music that I'm working on, and shows coming up in the Northern Virginia area over the next week. I just recently moved back to the Northern Virginia area, and I've been excited to get back into the DMV music community. And in doing so, I've started compiling a list of all the shows coming up for the next week and seeing what I have time and resources to go check out. So I'm not able to go to all of these shows, but I thought it would be nice to share this list with other people and give other people a heads up of some cool music you can check out around here in the area in Northern Virginia. I'm also a concert promoter. I'm putting on a show at the Salisbury Center on Mathis Avenue in Manassas, Virginia on Friday, February 28th. It's going to feature Ryan Ramone and the Cretins, a Ramones tribute band, Around the Fur, a Deftones tribute band, and Primus, a Primus tribute band. These are a lot of guys in all these bands that I grew up with that were just amazing in area punk and metal and funk rock and all sorts of different music we had around the area when I was a teenager. So I'm excited to see them play in these tribute bands to some of their favorite artists. All right, so I'm going to start going through the list of shows. So we're going to start out with shows coming up on Saturday, February 1st, 2025. So first up, we have Schmigadoon, based on the TV show at the Kennedy Center. I haven't seen this show, but some family members said they enjoyed it, and they're going to go check it out. That's running January 31st through February 9th, 2025. The series it's based on is on Apple TV. Go and check that out if that's something you're interested in. I have a link to the production on the description of the video. Next up, on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, we have the 930 Club with All Good presenting Sungazer. Sungazer, they have this track called Cool 7 that has a really fun, funky, shreddy intro into a groove that feels like an 80s movie. The percussion has a great swing to it. Tech metal heads, dance club, and classical music fans alike are going to like this one. They do instrumental, so there's no lyrics for anybody to argue about. It's a good vibe. They're solid players. I recommend checking them out. And playing along with them is Salami Rose Joe Lewis. Her stuff is really spacey synthwave. It'll have you bobbing your head and vibing out quick. Great mix of instrumentation that fills the audio spectrum with haunting, echoey vocals. Next up, there's a show at Tallyho, which is on 19 West Market Street in Leesburg, Virginia, tallyhotheater.com. There's a Bon Jovi tribute band called Shot Through the Heart. Bon Jovi is a big 80s kind of glam rock metal stuff, kind of around the same era as Twisted Sister and a lot of that other stuff, kind of the resistance to the early era of the parental advisory stickers and kind of more social conservatism coming down against rock and roll is when a lot of his music was coming out, to give you some context for it. So this should be a fun show. His music's connected with people for a long time. When I was at George Mason, we went to the Final Four for basketball. Bon Jovi song, every game the marching band covered one of them. So I feel like his music definitely has a lot of fans here in the Northern Virginia area. It'll probably be a fun show to check out. And playing along with them is Side Piece. Next up, there's a show at the Howard Theater at 620 T Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a K-pop club night. Doors at 10 p.m., $25 cover. There's a link to where you can get tickets in the description, and this event is going to be 18 plus. Next up, we have a show at Jam and Java on 227 Maple Avenue East in Vienna, Virginia. Big Richard, the Shoats. This is going to be an all-ages show. Doors at 7, show at 8 p.m., $20 cover. I got to briefly listen to these folks the other day. It seemed like kind of like folk psych rock. Seemed like fun stuff. So if you're into rock, I'd suggest checking these guys out. Next up is a show. This one's already sold out, but I figured I'd mention it just because this artist turned out to be so popular in the area. This is at the Birchmere Theater at 3701 Mount Vernon Avenue in Alexandria, Virginia. This is Will Downing. He's an R&B singer. I have a link to his Spotify in the description of the video. These tickets were going for $79.50. I hadn't heard him before I listened the other day. He's got a great voice. Highly recommend checking him out. Next up, we've got a number of performers at Two Silos Brewing at Farm Brew Live on 20109 Discover Boulevard in Manassas, Virginia. Early on the bill from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we've got Tejas Singh at the Northern Virginia-based singer-songwriter. And then from that matinee time slot from 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m., we have Brennan Edwards. It's a Winchester, VA-based singer-songwriter. And on through the evening, 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., there is Isaac Craft Band, who do a variety of covers. So if you're looking for some live music and some good food and drinks, go check out Two Silos Brewing Manassas. All right, next up, we're moving on to Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. The Tally-Ho Theater on 19 West Market Street in Leesburg, Virginia, has Grateful Dub, a Grateful Dead tribute band, and a band that plays similar kind of like reggae rock roots stuff called Roots of Creation is opening for them. This show ranges from $20 to $60, and doors are at 7 p.m. I got a link for the tickets in the description of the video. Next up is a show at Jam and Java, 227 Maple Avenue East in Vienna, Virginia. Steve Fobert is playing. I haven't had a chance to listen to him yet, but I have a link to his Spotify in here if you're looking for some music on Sunday and you're in Vienna. Doors are at 5:30 p.m., show at 7 p.m. Tickets are going for $35, and I have a link to where you can get the tickets as well. Next up, we've got Jimmy's Old Town Tavern. There's the Something Shiny duo. It's an acoustic duo with a rock influence, and they're going on at 1 p.m. Jimmy's Old Town Tavern, it's a historic spot in Herndon, Virginia, 697 Spring Street, Herndon, Virginia. And again, that's the Something Shiny duo at 1 p.m. Next up on Sunday, we have at Two Silos Brewing for Farm Brew Live at 20109 Discover Boulevard, Manassas, Virginia, 201. We've got at Two Silos Brewing, Manassas, Virginia, from 12 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We have Lenny Burridge, who does blues, jazz, and contemporary music with the guitar. From 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Two Silos Brewing is Ophi, a Virginia-based solo act. Next up on Sunday, we have at the Howard Theater at 620 T Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., the Psychic Fever First U.S. Tour. Psychic Fever is a 7-piece boy band. Looks like they have members from a bunch of different parts of the world. So if you were into like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and that kind of stuff, or more recent K-pop, I feel like this might be up your alley. Seems like real dancey. Check it out if that's your vibe. Tickets are from $50 to $100, and I've got a link to where you can buy the tickets in the description, as well as a link to Psychic Fever's Spotify page. Next up at the Black Cat in the Red Room, there is a Shadow Riot show for the release of their new 7-inch single. I have a link to that on their Bandcamp in the description. Doors are at 7:30. It's $15 in advance or $20 on show day. I have a link for the tickets in the description as well. No shows that I was finding for Monday, February 3rd, 2025. So moving on to Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Starting at the Kennedy Center, there's going to be the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater running from February 4th to 9th, 2025. For its annual Kennedy Center engagement, this beloved company presents brand new work, contemporary favorites, and their signature classic revelations. So that's a contemporary dance performance to a variety of music, probably with live instrumentation at the Kennedy Center. Next up on Tuesday, at the 930 Club at 815 V Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. Doors at 7 p.m., $30 cover. U Street Music Hall presents Bank and Bad Turner. This seems like a little more dancey stuff. I didn't get a chance to listen to it too much, but they had a cool aesthetic to what I saw on their pages. I've got links to both artists' Spotify here, as well as a link to where you can get tickets. Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 at the 930 Club at 815 V Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Rubble Bucket and Hannah Mohan are playing. These are two rock acts from what I recall. I have links to both their Spotifys in the description. Doors are at 7, tickets are $30, and I've got a link for tickets in the description as well. Next up is a show at Jam and Java at 227 Maple Avenue East in Vienna, Virginia. It's Clive Carroll. And doors are at 6 p.m. and shows at 7:30 p.m. and it's all ages. I'm not sure of what cover is or if they're doing online ticketing. I recommend going to the Jam and Java website. I have a link to that in the description. Next up at Jimmy's Old Town Tavern, there's an open mic night with acoustic musicians and full bands are invited to participate beginning at 8 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome based on availability. Please contact Brian Sims in advance, and his email's listed and his phone number. Stick around for jam sessions and more. So I have that contact information copied in the description of this video as well if you want to go to open mic night at Jimmy's Old Town Tavern in Herndon, Virginia. Moving on to Thursday, February 6, 2025, at the 930 Club at 815 V Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. Doors at 6 p.m. We have a sold-out show of White Ford Bronco, D.C.'s all-90s cover band. Their website's whitefordbronco.com. Sounds like they're pretty popular if they're selling out the 930 Club, so I recommend checking them out if you're into a lot of what was on the radio in the 90s. But unfortunately, this show is sold out, so if you don't already have a ticket, you'll have to catch them at their next gig. So at Tally Ho on 19 West Market Street in Leesburg, Virginia, we have Creed Fisher performing. And then at Jam and Java in Vienna, Virginia, there's an all-ages show with Jacko Pierce. Doors at 6 p.m., show at 7:30 p.m. Then also on Thursday, February 6, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Jimmy's Old Town Tavern in Herndon, Virginia, we've got Smilin' Jack, rock and dance hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Next up, we have at the Birchmere Music Hall at 3701 Mount Vernon Avenue in Alexandria, Virginia at 7:30 p.m., Karen White. I haven't had a chance to check out her music yet, but I have a link to the show page in the description, as well as a link to where you can buy tickets. Tickets for her show are going for $49.50. Next up at Two Silos Brewing at Farm Brew Live at 20109 Discover Boulevard, Manassas, Virginia, we've got Jonathan Brown, an acoustic singer-songwriter, performing from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Again, that's at Two Silos Brewing in Manassas, Virginia. Next up is a gig at the Howard Theater at 620 T Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Nemesis, a female vocal indie songwriter. She does spacey pop stuff. It's an all-ages show, $35 tickets. I've got a link to where you can get tickets in the description. And next up at the Strathmore at 5301 Tuckerman Lane, North Bethesda, Maryland, at their music center, there's a sold-out performance happening by Patti LuPone, a Tony Award winner performing Broadway classics, pop hits, and American songbook favorites. So Patti LuPone, another person to look out for if you're into Broadway stuff. For next time she comes through, you want to be on the hunt for those tickets early on. Friday, February 7th, 2025 at the 930 Club at 815 V Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Doors at 10 p.m., cover $25. Link for tickets in the description is Tinzo and Jojo Lorenzo. I don't have a chance to listen to their music too much, but I have links to both their music on their Spotify pages in the description, as well as a link to where you can buy tickets. Next up is a show at the Tally Ho Theater, tallyhotheater.com at 19 West Market Street, Leesburg, Virginia, is Ballyhoo, the Harbor Boys, and the Cassaday Convocation. Seems like some local rock acts or regional ones. I haven't had a chance to listen to them either, but I have a link to the show in the description and to the venue. Next up's a gig at Jam and Java at 227 Maple Avenue East in Vienna, Virginia. It's What's Our Age Again? It's a benefit for Louise Archer Elementary's PTA. It's a 21-plus show at 6:30 p.m., show at 7:30 p.m. So that sounds like it's a local fundraiser show where they're probably doing a bunch of pop-punk covers. So go check that out if you want to support parents and teachers in Vienna. And then at the Birchmere Music Hall at 3701 Mount Vernon Avenue in Alexandria, Virginia, show at 7:30 p.m., Yasmin Williams is performing with Amadou Coyote. Haven't had a chance to listen to them yet, but I have a link to the show page in the description, as well as to where you can buy tickets. Tickets are going for $29.50. At Two Silos Brewing on Discover Boulevard in Manassas, Virginia, Emily Woodhall, an alt-country rock act, is performing from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Scott Kurt is a country rock act, following her, going on from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The Howard Theater at 620 T Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. has a sold-out show with Joy Oladokun. She's a singer-songwriter. I haven't had a chance to check her out, but like I said, the show's sold out, but doors are at 7, shows at 8, and it's all ages. I have the link to their Spotify in the description. At the Black Cat at 1811 14th Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. in the Red Room is Perennial, a psych garage rock with a big sound, and Dim Wizard, an alt garage rock band, and Miri Tyler, an indie garage band. Doors at 8 p.m., $15 advance, $20 tickets day of, and I have links to all of the artists' Bandcamp pages in the description. On Saturday, February 8th, 2025, at the 930 Club, 815 V Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., there's an early show with Stars Set Yourself on Fire, their 20th anniversary tour. I have a link to their Spotify page, along with Kevin Devine, also have a link to his page. And then there's a late show at the 930 Club with Steve's Promo Presents, Hull, Jekyll Hyde, Swamp Main, and then there's a G3CK. Sounds like it's probably a dance or DJ event. That's doors at 10 p.m., $25 cover. I have a link to where you can get tickets in the description. The State Theater is Thurston Howell, a yacht rock spectacular. So sounds like a cover band that will be doing a bunch of different yacht rock classics at the State Theater in Falls Church. At Tally Ho at 19 West Market Street in Leesburg, Virginia, Eyes of the Nile, Iron Maiden Tribute Band, and Bark at the Moon will be playing. I have a link to the show page and the venue, as well as to Iron Maiden Spotify if you haven't had a chance to check them out. They are a band that is still active to this day, but came to prominence in the late 70s within the British heavy metal scene and really gained popularity around the world. And just a lot of people, when they learn the guitar, this is a band they really connect with, myself included. At Jam and Java at 227 Maple Avenue East in Vienna, Virginia, Jerry Tripsters is playing an all-ages show with doors at 7 p.m. and show at 8 p.m. At the Birchmere Music Hall at 3701 Mount Vernon Avenue in Alexandria, Virginia at 7:30 p.m., Who's Bad? The Ultimate Michael Jackson Experience is going on. Tickets are available for $39.50. I have a link to where you can get tickets, as well as to the show page in the description. At the Howard Theater at 620 T Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. is Manuel's. I have a link to their Spotify in the description. Doors at 7 p.m., show at 8 p.m., all ages. Tickets go from $30 to $60, and I have a link to the ticketing page in the description as well. Next up is a show at the Black Cat at 1811 14th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. The Nerdy Night Cow and the Live Cabaret with a Twist. I have a link to the show's page. Doors are at 7 p.m., shows 8 p.m. This is an 18-plus event. $30 in advance, $50 for VIP tickets, and I have a link to the ticketing page in the description. At Two Silos Brewing in Manassas, Virginia on Discovery Boulevard from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., Zach Quintana, a contemporary songwriter, will be performing. From 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m., the Dad Guys, a top 40 cover band, will be performing from 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then into the evening from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Two Silos Brewing will be Star Crush, a rock party band. At the Strathmore at 5301 Tuckerman Lane in North Bethesda, Maryland, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra presents Brahms times Radiohead. I have links to Radiohead's Spotify as well as to Brahms' First Symphony. This is a conductor DJ doing an arrangement of Radiohead music with Brahms' First Symphony, with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra performing the arrangement. On Sunday, February 9th, 2025, at the Strathmore at 5301 Tuckerman Lane in North Bethesda, Maryland, the Music Center Birthday Bash is happening, an afternoon of performances, arts, activities, family fun with Inez Barletier and Justin Roberts and Katam and his Tam Tams. All ages free from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you're in the Bethesda area and you want to take your family to a music-based event during the day, this is going on at the Strathmore in North Bethesda at 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Welcome back. I'm your host, Alex, and this week we're talking about the classic 1990 album Frizzle Fry by Primus. Now, this is a really fun, it's the first studio album from Primus. They did a few live records before this after being a band for a few years. And this is just such a crazy mishmash of funk and heavy metal and jam band stuff. And just, if you have long drives and you just want something to bang your head and get hyped to, check out this record. You won't regret it. It's a lot of fun. To give you some context for when the album came out, in 1990, That was the year Douglas Wilder became the first black governor of Virginia. Lech Walesa became the first elected president of Poland. The Soviet Union was dissolved. Yugoslavia broke up. Nelson Mandela was freed, and Germany was reunified. Also in 1990, here's a few other albums that came out in addition to Primus's Frizzle Fry. We've got Repeater by Fugazi, Goo by Sonic Youth, Against the Grain by Bad Religion, America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube, Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy, Rust in Peace by Megadeth, Danzig 2 Lucifuge by Danzig, and Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. Now, I really enjoy this album a lot, and this is one of those records that, like, if you are a bass player, you're just going to go nuts for it. That Les Claypool, the bassist and singer of this band, just does such an amazing job on a 6-string fretless, just doing all sorts of crazy tapping and slapping techniques that nobody else would ever think of that he's a master at. And listening to this will just get you very excited to go home and play your bass. So highly recommend it to all the fellow bass players out there checking out this video. And just some recommended listening. If you listen to Primus's Frizzle Fry album and you enjoy it, I highly encourage you to listen to the rest of their catalog. But in addition, another band that does a lot of the same fun claymation stuff and has a lot of the same similar playful attitude in their music from a similar era is Green Jelly. They did the Three Little Pigs video. That was out of claymation. And then if you're really into that technical bass stuff, new metal band Mudvayne is a really great one to check out. And if you want to just hear some great groove and funk classic, Parliament Funkadelic from right here in Washington, D.C. is an amazing funk band that for many years featured Bootsy Collins on bass, who's a great artist in his own right, and also toured playing with James Brown and a number of other big funk and soul artists. And then more recent artists, I highly recommend Blue de Tiger. She's doing a lot of really cool like funk rock stuff where she's singing and playing bass. She's the youngest bassist artist to have her own signature bass with Fender. It's a cool jazz bass with like a mirror pickguard. Highly recommend checking her stuff out. Again, another player similar to Les Claypool that when you hear her play, it's just going to make you want to go home and play your own bass. All right, next up, we are talking about the 1978 movie Rock and Roll High School featuring the Ramones. Rock and Roll High School is about a girl named Riff Rapkin who is played by a 29-year-old. To great effect. This movie's super campy and really fun. Just to give some context, the movie Animal House with John Belushi about the frat house came out the year before. And this was kind of the studio trying to capture that magic in a bottle again, partnering with the Ramones, the rock band, playing themselves in the movie. And the story mostly follows a girl named Riff, who is obsessed with the Ramones and keeps pirating her school's public address system to play their records that makes the whole school break out in dancing. It's just really over the top and ridiculous. And her best friend is like a high school nuclear scientist. And then there's kind of a Van Wilder character played by Clint Howard that when you watch this movie and you see what Clint Howard's character's doing in it, I think most specifically is the basis for what Matthew McConaughey does in his performance in the much later film Dazed and Confused. But also, I would argue Clint Howard's performance in Rock and Roll High School is probably the motivation behind Matthew McConaughey's entire persona. Just watch the movie and give me your feedback if you agree. Interesting thing, I don't want to give too much of a spoiler away, but the movie does involve a public building exploding as a positive plot point. Interesting to see and to consider how that ages. I thought this movie is definitely fine for ages 15 and up. If your kid can handle a bunch of movies, there's not a lot of cursing, there's no nudity, there's no sex. It's fun and campy, but keep in mind it's the cultural sensibilities of 1978. So if that's something you're sensitive to, check it out for yourself before you put it on in front of the kids. Highly recommend this movie. It's a ton of fun. The Ramones play themselves. They play a bunch of their music within the film. There's a bunch of other great song and dance numbers throughout the piece. A lot of great set pieces. This movie is produced by Roger Corman, who for decades helped produce and get a lot of independent movies made in California. And it's just like a big name in American cinema history. So really check this one out. And if you enjoy this movie, Rock and Roll High School, a few others I recommend that you check out is, again, I mentioned it earlier with Matthew McConaughey. This is a role that really launched his career. It's called Dazed and Confused. Another one I recommend is Wild Style, and that's kind of about the late 70s and the graffiti movement popping off within New York City. Another great one that I feel is in the same spirit as Rock and Roll High School is Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage. And also Earth Girls Are Easy with Jeff Goldblum and Jim Carrey. I think if you like Rock and Roll High School, you will like all these movies as well. So for this week's guitar playthrough, I spent the last 3 days teaching myself Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones off their self-titled first album, Ramones. This is the opening track on the record, and it is the one that you hear it in tons of movies. You hear bands cover it all the time. Some friends of mine covered it at a show last month and are going to be doing a Ramones tribute set coming up the end of February. And it is just such a fun song. It's all, it's Johnny Ramone really, you hear it in this song most distinctly, but in all of their music, he's really the master of the downstroke. And kind of in that same era of the late 70s, I think To Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee coming out. And one of my favorite quotes from an interview with Bruce Lee is he says, I fear the person who's thrown one punch 1,000 times more than I fear the person who's thrown 1,000 punches. And Johnny Ramone with that downstroke on his guitar, there's just this ferocity and intensity and heaviness and expressiveness to it with just that simple gesture of just going down, down, down on the guitar and not coming back up in order to hit eighth notes playing pretty fast. Had a lot of fun learning this one. I'm really excited. Next week I'm going to be learning I Want to Be Sedated, also by the Ramones off their album Road to Ruin, their third record from 1978. Came out briefly before the movie I reviewed this week, Rock and Roll High School. Came out in 1978 and is referenced a bunch within that film. In this guitar cover, I am playing on my Squier Telecaster and my Orange Crush 100 combo. I'm miking my amp with an SM57 made by Shure to my Zoom H4n sound recorder. I want to remind you guys, I have a show coming up on February 28th, Friday, February 28th at the Salisbury Center in Manassas, Virginia, where Ryan Ramone and the Cretins will be playing a Ramones tribute set, Primus will be playing a Primus tribute set, and Around the Fur from Delaware will be playing a Deftones tribute set. So it's going to be a great night of Ramones, Deftones, and Primus jams, and a lot of old friends from here in the Northern Virginia music community. I would love it if you guys can come out. Tickets are going to be $20. They'll be available online shortly. And I would just love to see you there. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And until next week, thanks for joining me.